All right. Greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. Greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. How y'all doing? Thanks for joining me every day on the internet. We're live on YouTube, Rockfin, Call-In, and on Twitter. Thanks to all the people that are watching on Twitter. All right. Well, there's lots to cover, and let's get into it. From Stephen Donziger, Israeli soldiers post themselves conquering, quote unquote, a hospital in Gaza where 43 intensive care patients just died because of lack of oxygen, according to ABC News. As a Jew and a human rights attorney, I find this photo repulsive. Get out. Strong words from Stephen Donziger, but good ones. This is what cowards do. Cowards conquer helpless people with no resources, no way to fight back, with barely one quarter or 1/8 of the might that you have, conquering them, taking them over. That's what cowards do. That's what cowards and bullies do. I got to clear up something. Yesterday I played this clip of Van Jones saying, let's stand up against Muslims. He made a mistake. He was actually speaking out against the atrocities at this rally, and everybody was booing him. So let me give Van Jones his due. And that clip was taken out of context, which happens from time to time on Twitter. People clip things, don't give you the full context. But what was happening was he was speaking out against it. So good on Van Jones. From Steve Austin, retweeting Brandon Orr, there was a kind of an overnight storm in South Florida which knocked out power to 80,000 customers. Steve Austin says this storm didn't even have a name, and it's paralyzed the region. It might be the same storm that's bringing extreme weather to Cuba. Mesmerizing radar loop of the storm strengthening overnight over the warm waters of South Florida. Winds gusted to 86 miles per hour near Key Largo. 75 miles per hour in Miami Beach and Dania Beach. More than 80,000 customers, electricity customers, still without power this morning. So yeah, the storm just came on through. Didn't even have a name. Wiped a bunch of stuff out. And I don't know if this is the same storm that hit Cuba, but Peter Dines posts this: as the climate continues to warm, nowhere will escape the flooding. This time, Havana, Cuba experienced the full force of increased energy in the system, carrying more and more moisture, the new climate of droughts and floods. Somebody says, I don't get everyone trying to drive through this every time, and I don't get it either. They don't care if the car ever runs again. They flood the engine and risk floating away. Was there no warning that they would get out and to safety first? It is an interesting thing to see people trying to drive through ridiculous weather like that. Like, you could just pull over. You could just stop the car. You can just get out. You could run for high ground. Paul Beckwith has a new video titled Straight Line Derecho Winds. Oh, I don't know if that's the title. Straight line derecho winds have increased by 5 times in the last 40 years. Observation models and atmospheric physics. So you can check that out on Paul Beckwith's site. I saw this morning, and the headline got me from Huffington Post. This is the least productive Congress since the Great Depression. Oh my. What does that portend? Congress has only written 21 laws this year, on pace to be the least productive gathering of lawmakers since the Great Depression, as members draw more headlines for confrontations than for public policy making. I'm going to come back to this article for a little bit. But it, that seems to make sense. This is, we probably have the most corrupt, bought and paid for government ever. Nobody seems to be willing to stand up against what's going on. Or if they do, just nominally, verbally here and there, but then they vote for the things that they are speaking out against. Vigilant Fox posts this, and I didn't know this. Did you know the World Health Organization, in its founding document in 1946, exempted itself from criminal charges? Can you all hear me okay? Why would an organization need to give itself exemption from criminal prosecution? What other organizations have actually gained shielding from criminal prosecution? What other organizations? Anybody? The reason why they wrote that into their founding charter is because they knew they were already breaking the law. Yeah, you wouldn't seek exemption if you were going to play by the rules or abide by laws or do the right thing. You wouldn't do that. You'd only do that if your intention was to break the law. Here's an interesting post. This has been making the rounds. The Guardian recently removed Osama bin Laden's letter to the American people that was published after 9/11. It's been up for 20 years. It was published on Sunday, the 24th November 2002. It was put on the Guardian removed it yesterday after 20 years. Why? Well, let's read. The Guardian deleting its translation of Osama bin Laden's letter to America, which it had on its site for over 2 decades, and put on it a year after 9/11 because he mentioned the U.S. support for the genocidal Israel regime shows how pathetic the Western media class really is. Interesting that they have to take that down now. Nina Turner posts this. Nikki Haley is on the march again. She's saying 65 is way too low for the retirement age. Advocates attaching it to life expectancy. Well, and Nina Turner says these people are out of their damn minds. Work until you die. But look, I'm going to show you something that actually maybe she doesn't want to tie it to life expectancy. Not in the United States. Because, hold on. I'm getting there. I have something to show you. Where's this handy graph when you need it? Let's see. Is it here? I think maybe I passed it. Here we go. Where is it? Okay. No, I found it. All right. Chris Martinson posts this, and I'll show it to you in a sec. As always, you can count on the New York Times contributors to overlook the real problem as they try to inflame the masses against each other. Steve Ratner of the New York Times says the House GOP just voted to prevent the CDC from studying gun deaths and injuries. I wonder why. But what Chris Martinson is posting is a graph of life expectancy versus health expenditure. And the U.S. is far behind almost every other country. In life expectancy versus health expenditure. We'll look at this real quick. No, Funky Mystic, I did not see. Protesters shut down the Bay Bridge. Nice. Nice. Maybe I'll have to find that. Life expectancy versus health expenditure. So we spend so much money per capita on medical expenditures, and look at where the U.S. is as far as life expectancy. And look where all these other countries are. Mostly European countries, but also Japan is in here, New Zealand, Canada, South Korea. So life expectancy in all these other countries is 81 and up, and here in the U.S. it's 79 and decreasing. So maybe Nikki Haley, can you guys see this? Sorry if you can't. Maybe Nikki Haley doesn't want to tie the retirement age to life expectancy, not in the U.S. Is the sound breaking up? Anybody else having that issue? Or is it just John? If you need me to clear it out, let me know. If anybody else is having that issue, please let me know. Let's see. I know my computer's running slow, and I'm sorry, I'm going to have to figure out how to not have all these tabs open at the same time. Because it's really causing an issue. Maybe what I'll do is this, though. Give me 1 second, guys. Yeah, life expectancy in the U.S. is going down due to so many things. One of those things may be that the medical industry, for sure, in the U.S. doesn't really want you to get better. They want you to remain sick so that they can provide you with the cure. All right, hopefully this will help. Hold on. Rather not do this during the show, but I don't know what else to do. Just trying to free up some space here. And then we'll get back to it. Yep. And we will, all right, keep this delay as short as possible. Let's keep going. So, outside of the DNC, there was a huge, there was a big protest, peaceful, and the Capitol Police started attacking the protesters, and then they said, then they, you know, did the usual blame the protesters. Somehow they were doing something. What they were doing was protesting. At the DNC, Capitol Police attacking protesters and throwing protesters down the stairs. Sabby Sab says, I just want to remind everyone members of the squad voted to increase funding for the Capitol Police because, you know, I'm so scared. Words of violence and stochastic terror. They voted to fund the Capitol Police, even though they were all defund the police when it was convenient for them. And this is why these people aren't doing anything. The Congress isn't doing anything. Nothing's getting done. Everybody is just, compromised. Let's watch a little of this.
Oh, shit! Someone just got thrown! People getting thrown down the stairs! People getting thrown down the stairs! Yo! Shit going wild out here, bro. You got to say. Shit going crazy.
Yeah. Many of those protesters were Jewish. Protesting Zionism, the Zionist Israeli occupation of Gaza. There's more to this story from Crystal Ball. Retweeting Congressman Brad Sherman. He said, I was just evacuated from the DNC. Let me get rid of this. After pro-terrorist, anti-Israel protesters grew violent, pepper spraying police officers and attempting to break into the building. Thankful to the police who stopped them and for helping me and my colleagues get out safely. So he's very, he's scared for his life and thankful that the police were there to round these people up. Crystal Ball says everything in this tweet is a lie. These mostly Jewish protesters were calling for a ceasefire, something 80% of Dems support. They were completely peaceful. No one tried to break into the building. It was cops who were pepper spraying people. Right. Really? Protesters are going to show up with pepper spray? We're going to get these cops with the pepper spray. You think they're going to do that? Do you think they honestly are going to do that? And Vanessa Beeley posts this from a protester who was there. And this is a great video. And I'm going to play this video right now. As soon as it shows up, we will get some video. And still waiting for it to show up. About to. Here we go. All right.
We are peaceful fucking protesters. At the end of the day, you see what the fuck they're doing. You see what the fuck they're doing. We are out here because there are 11,000 and counting Palestinian people that have been slaughtered by the Zionist regime that is Israel. We are out here because we are fucking tired of our fucking tax dollars going to kill children in another fucking country. That is why we are out here. And these fucking bitch-ass pigs are part of the goddamn problem. Because they're the same motherfuckers that go over there and trade with the fucking IDF. And look at them. Look at the way they fucking act. This is the militarized fucking police force. This is the shit that we deal with in America. Now just fucking imagine what those children and those men and those women and those fucking grandparents in Gaza are experiencing right now.
Yep. That's how a lot of people are feeling. And, you know, we're witnessing the establishment kind of go head to head one more time, right? It was during COVID, during the COVID era, the establishment kind of went head to head with the masses. Um, and the masses, you know, a lot of people were not taking it. But a lot of those masses were Trump supporters supposedly on the right. And so a lot of people were like, yeah, you get him. But now a lot of these people are on the left. And so there's some people on the right going like, yeah, you get him. But now it's like kind of like, and it's interesting how much opposition the Biden administration is getting right now over this. And mostly from people that would probably identify as lefties. And I find that encouraging. I do. Because the gig is up. The game is up. It's, you know, it was easier to pit people when Trump was in office, and it was easier to pit one side against the other. But now it's like, now it's mostly like people against the power against the people. And the emperor has no clothes. It is an interesting video. I'm going to come back to this one. IDF, well, you don't need to really see it. The IDF deletes and re-uploads video showing a fully charged, non-password protected laptop with damning evidence that they claim to belong to Hamas. It's important to keep in mind that there hasn't been power in the area, and the IDF blurred the laptop in the second upload. They forgot to blur their own laptop and charger with Q1-148 written on it, I guess. They messed up in their propagandizing of the Hamas. RFK Jr. is polling the best of any independent candidate since, for the last 100 years. The last person who was in this strong of a position was Teddy Roosevelt when he ran on the Bull Moose ticket. What is President Biden going to do? He can't debate me, says Robert F. Kennedy. Just in, the Pentagon has again failed in its independent annual audit of $3.8 trillion in military assets. This seems to happen every couple of years. Oh, we can't seem to find a couple of trillion. Oh, a couple of $1 trillion are missing. Whatever shall we do? Steve Austin posts this. You know, sometimes I think we're not going to make it. Headline: the IEA raises oil demand outlook for 2023 and 2024. Despite concerns about the economy, global oil demand continues to exceed expectations, according to the IEA. Well, why wouldn't it? There's 8 billion people on the planet, and the entire planet runs on oil. It doesn't run on anything else. There's nothing else out there to fuel the planet. And last I checked, the population was going up, not down. Those are just simple maths. From holding Biden accountable, he says nearly every single word of this is a depraved, grotesque, genocidal lie. That this man is our president is beyond disgusting and shameful. The quote is, "You have a circumstance where the first war crime is being committed by Hamas by having their headquarters, their military, under a hospital. And that's a fact. That's what happened," Biden told reporters after a meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Hamas has already said publicly that they plan on attacking Israel again, like they did before cutting babies' heads off and burning women and children alive. And so the idea that they're just going to stop and not do anything is not realistic, he continued. Yeah, pretty much everything in there is a lie. Biden is like the elderly parent, grandparent, who just isn't in touch with reality at all. And it's upsetting and it's sad. It's sad to see. But you don't want them doing anything like important, like driving or, right? You don't want them doing things that might imperil themselves or others. That's Biden, and somehow he's president. Jimmy Dore, what do you know? Israel-Palestine is about oil and gas. Cable news viewer, no, it's about a class of civilizations. And he actually did a story about that. We're going to come back to that ASAP. Nico House retweets this. UN Special Rapporteur says that Israel actually does not have a right to defend itself. Israel cannot claim the right of self-defense against a threat that emanates from the territory that it occupies. If you are an occupying force, you cannot claim self-defense against... It's like the U.S. claiming self-defense against Native Americans. Right? Right. He says, there goes that talking point. Another day, another piece of Israeli propaganda melting away. Kevin Anderson says yet another paper claiming future carbon dioxide removal, CDR, is key to our Paris commitments is published. This tidal wave of papers on speculative CDR contrasts to barely a ripple on fundamental shifts in norms and values, reinforcing a deep systemic bias. Well, yeah. Everybody wants a techno fix. They don't want to actually change how they organize. Human beings don't want to change how they organize themselves on the planet. That would be too difficult. Torrential floods in Saudi Arabia also. This has been going on for days. For days and days. I've been seeing stuff coming out of Saudi Arabia. I don't know why that's what I'm getting. Let's try and make this better. Let's see. We're almost there. We are there. Here we go. Trying to pull people out of the water. That is a raging torrent. Yes, Poppy. Everybody's shopping for Christmas. No time to change lifestyle. Exactly. All right. So let's go back and let's go back to this Jimmy Dore video. And just a moment. Oop. Sorry. Trying to juggle all the tabs. Let's see. This is Jimmy Dore talking about, well, maybe a resource war that is underlying the supposed ideological war. There we go.
It's about natural gas. It's about oil and gas. You ready? Watch this.
Gaza is rich, gas rich, at least 1.4 trillion cubic feet rich, to be precise. But there's a catch.
Geologists and natural resources economists have confirmed that the occupied Palestinian territory lies above sizable reservoirs of oil and natural gas wealth in Area C of the occupied West Bank and the Mediterranean coast off the Gaza Strip. To date, the real and opportunity costs of the occupation exclusively in the area of oil and natural gas have accumulated to tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars.
Back in 1999, the
And now you know the rest of the story.
I mean, you don't even have to finish the story because I know exactly how this goes.
That's right.
It goes the same way every single time.
So wait, this means it's not about religion, Kurt.
No.
I mean, sure, it's about religion for suckers who have to fight and die for the energy business.
Right. And Bill Maher.
And Bill Maher. I just mean it's not about religion for any of the people in charge making the decisions about the war in Gaza. Boy, why does God always leave incredible wealth underneath bad people?
I know.
It's such a such a hassle having to wipe them out to get our energy-related gifts from our God.
I mean, since I was a boy, listening to my Bible storybook tapes, the bad people been on top of the stuff God said we could have.
Do I really need to play the rest of this video? I don't think I do.
No. No. That's all that needs to be known, right? That's all that needs to be known. We're going to go back to this video from Nico House. This is the UN Special Rapporteur talking about Israel's right to self-defense.
Under international law, and so that everyone can understand, well, there is not such a thing that Israel could claim. So in common language, self-defense might be understood as the right to protect oneself. But however, Article 51 of the UN Charter that Israel has invoked is not just the right to protect itself. It's self-defense under international law. It's a legal term of art and means the right to wage a war, which Israel doesn't have. And this is consolidated jurisprudence of the supreme judicial organ of the United Nations. I understand that the state practice might diverge, United States and Iraq, but the law remains the law, and this is what we should follow. So the right of self-defense can be invoked when a state is threatened by another state, which is not the case. Israel has not claimed that has been threatened by another state. It's been threatened by an armed group. Qualify it the way you want, but it's an armed group within the occupied territory. And frankly, even saying the war between Gaza and Israel is wrong, because Gaza is not a standalone entity, it's part of the occupied territory. But so, in particular, Israel cannot claim the right of self-defense against a threat that emanates from the territory it occupies, from a territory that is kept under belligerent occupation. And this is not only this exists in the jurisprudence of the ICJ in general, it's also been said in the case of the occupied Palestinian territory.
And there you go. So it's yeah, just kind of a misnomer, or it's just not actually the correct phrase to use when discussing Israel. They're not defending themselves against people that they belligerently occupy, right? How you doing, Rockfin people? I see you. I see you. Shouldn't the UN at least make a motion to expel Israel? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, there have been UN members that have spoken out against what Israel is doing, quite vociferously, and maybe hopefully we'll get some more of that. All right. Let's go back to this from Kevin Anderson for a moment. I'm just looking quickly at this paper. Near-term deployment of novel carbon removal to facilitate longer-term deployment. He's talking about the deployment of carbon removal technologies as opposed to changing the way that we actually do things on the planet. Scenarios which account for the costs of and interactions among different mitigation options. Show that we will need to remove hundreds of gigatons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere over the course of the century to limit warming to well below. There it is. I haven't seen it in a while, but they actually included the well below 2C. Well, if it were at 1.5 and sometimes hovering at 1.7, it's not well below 2C, is it? Making efforts to limit it to 1.5, well, that's going to be tough since we're already there, and ensure the sustained well-being of our planet. Yet, at present, only 2 gigatons is being removed per year, and nearly all of it is from forestry. And dang it, forestry is just not doing its job. We're going to need some more forestry. Oh, no, we're not going to need more forestry. We're going to need more carbon removal machines. Only 0.1% is from novel forms of carbon removal. This commentary shows that the deployment of novel CO2 removal over the next decade, its formative phase is likely to be consequential in determining whether CDR will be available at scale and in time to reach net zero CO2 emissions consistent with the Paris Agreement's temperature goals. So, I mean, they're kind of letting it be known that it's not really a thing that we can rely on as of yet. They're saying, well, we're going to have to ramp this up if we can even count on it to make a dent in the next decade. But, people who have more on the ball, a little more acumen than these folks who wrote this paper, I think, are saying that, well, it's kind of late for that. We're not going to scale it up in time. We're not going to scale it up. Who knows? I could be wrong. I could be wrong. All the naysayers could be wrong. And, hopefully they are wrong, but the likelihood that they are, the probabilities are not high. If we're talking about realistic probabilities, not high. It's most likely that the naysayers are right. Let's look at this for a second. IEA raises oil demand outlook for 2023 and 2024. Despite concerns about the economy, global oil demand continues to exceed expectations, according to the International Energy Agency, which raised its demand growth forecast for both 2023 and 2024. Isn't 2023 kind of over? What's the date of this? This is November 14th. Isn't 2023 kind of over? Global oil consumption continues to be strong in September, with a record high Chinese demand of 17.1 million barrels per day. The IEA said, due to an all-time high Chinese monthly demand fueled by the petrochemical sector and resilient consumption in the United States. Resilient. The agency that's a different kind of resilience. The agency revised up its 2023 oil demand growth forecast to 2.4 million barrels per day. Good God. 2.4 million barrels per day, up from 2.3 million barrels per day growth expected in the October report. This year, China is expected to account for 1.8 million barrels per day. God dang, that's a lot of oil. 1.8 million barrels per day of the 2.4 million barrels per day growth, which will lift total global demand to 102. This is total global demand. 102 million barrels per day. Isn't 102 million? I guess not. Anyways, that's a lot of oil there, isn't it? 102 million barrels per day. The IEA also revised up its estimates for oil demand growth for the next year. So we are using, as a species, 102 million barrels per day of oil. I mean, contemplate, if you will, how vast that amount is. Think about 102 million barrels of oil just standing on a field somewhere. That's how much the globe is using every day. But, yeah, it's going up. We going up. Let's watch this from RFK Jr. talking about his poll numbers. Where Chris Cuomo risen from the ashes of Me Too and irrelevancy, and now he's got a job somewhere else at News Nation.
And he's only going to make somebody lose. Now, some Trumpers believe that it's him who's going to lose because you're pulling young people off of him because you make more reasonable arguments about some of the things they care about. And then obviously, as a Democrat, which is what you are, they're saying, well, he's going to hurt Biden, and it's so close, he could make the difference. How do you make peace with that?
Well, my numbers now are, as you pointed out there, the most recent poll has me at 24%. That's the New York Times Siena poll, which is a gold standard poll. So my momentum is building. There were two polls over the past 3 weeks that had me at 22%. This most recent one has me at 24%. I'm beating President Biden and President Trump among young people under 45. I beat them both. I beat them by 10 points on average, people under 36. I'm beating them with independent voters decisively. So I'm in a better place now than any independent candidate in history for 100 years. The last person who was in this strong a position was Teddy Roosevelt when he ran on the Bull Moose ticket. Oh, I think we also have the weakest two candidates running for president that we've had in history. I don't think that, I think personally, Chris, I'm not, I don't like to make predictions, but if I had to bet money, I would put the money on me and not on President Biden, President Trump. What is President Biden going to do? He can't debate me. He can't have an unscripted conversation or encounter with voters. I think the question, and he's losing to President Trump right now by 8 or 9 points.
The polling right now isn't good.
I think that question
is just a snapshot of a moment in time. We'll see how they go.
Yeah, of course.
Dusty's in my ear. A lot of people are calling into the show. They want to talk to you. Let's do another segment when it works for you. We're in contact with each other, and come back, take their questions, and let's see who you can persuade and who you can't.
Okay. That's pretty significant, the poll number of leading with younger voters. Leading both Trump and Biden among the 18 to 36 age range. That's pretty consequential. Question is, what are they going to do to get him out of there? Like how? Let's say the deep state or whoever wants to rid themselves of the RFK Jr. problem. Might have a hard time getting him out of there. I don't know, but they're going to try. I'm sure that we'll see some wild things in 2024. It seems like they can't really they don't have the wherewithal to tie their shoes at the moment. So, where they're going to get the extra energy to railroad RFK Jr. out of here, I don't know. He might just do it to himself. I don't know. Let's look at this article. I'm going to wrap it up on this, I think. The least productive Congress since the Great Depression. With only 21 bills making it into law halfway into November, the 118th Congress, controlled by Republicans in the House and Democrats in the Senate, is on the most sluggish pace to make law since the Congress that met during the 1931 and 32 years. Back then, Herbert Hoover was president. The Great Depression had started, and talking movies were still new. Representative Chip Roy of Texas, Republican, part of a group in the House that has stopped several spending bills from advancing in the Senate, saw his frustration boil over on the House floor Wednesday. One thing, I want my Republican colleagues to give me one thing, just one, that I can go campaign on and say that we did. He said, anybody sitting in the complex, if you want to come down to the floor and come explain to me one meaningful, significant thing the Republican majority has done. The lack of productivity puts a punctuation mark on the first half of a Congress that has managed to do the bare minimum. Fund the government, raise the debt. I was going to say that's, they've managed to get the money printers going, I guess. That's about it. That's about all they can do. You want to approve some money printing? Sure. All right. Hear, hear. All in favor? Say aye. While also embarrassing itself with the first ever ouster of a House Speaker mid-session, a subsequent 3-week-long search for the new one, and most recently a threatened fight between a senator and a committee witness. The center of the embarrassment has been the GOP-controlled House, which has struggled to pass anything of consequence with its razor-thin 4-seat Republican majority. I don't know that the Democrats were doing that great either, honestly. I mean, they managed to pass a couple of bigger spending bills, but beyond that, I can't think about one thing they did. I mean, they've managed to just kind of rubber stamp a lot of military spending. That seems to be their, again, the money printing. They're like, if it includes money printing and military spending, everybody is all on board. Everything else, we don't want to get our hands dirty with it. The Senate, meanwhile, has been content to deal with the rare legislation the House sends over while grasping for bipartisan deals on immigration and aid to Ukraine. You either laugh or you cry, right? Said Representative Maxwell Frost, a Democrat from Florida. The Gen Z freshman congressman said, it's sad, and it just shows the Republican majority isn't fit to govern. Okay. Might be the uniparty majority is not fit to govern. Congress's approval rating sat at just 13% in October, according to Gallup. Polling also shows widespread voter anger at the state of the economy, immigration, and a host of other issues. I wonder what those are. 13%. HuffPost checked to see how late in the year it took previous Congresses to pass their first 21 public laws using Congress's own website, as well as compilations of laws passed in each Congress called U.S. Statutes at Large. President Joe Biden signing a bill requiring the Department of Veteran Affairs to allow easier access to claims information brought the total number of laws made to 21 through Monday. That is the latest it has taken a Congress to get to 21 laws since the 72nd Congress, which only saw its 21st law to amend a bridge construction authorization in Michigan enacted on February 5th, 1932. Adding to the bad look, Congress didn't even start meeting in 1931 until December, meaning they managed to get 21 laws in just 3 months. Prior to the 20th Amendment, which also changed when presidents took their oath of office from March to January, the lame duck sessions of the previous Congresses, sessions held after elections but before a new Congress is sworn in ran much longer, typically from December of the election year to March of the new year. Okay. Yeah, we're on track. We're right in there, sitting right in there with the Great Depression era Congresses. And yeah, there was actually a chance that there could be another shutdown of because some funding bill I think passed a deadline, so there's always that. All right, guys, that does it for me today. I'm going to be back tomorrow. Let's say 2 p.m. tomorrow. And 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I will be here live. All right. And thanks, everyone. Real quick, ways you can support the show. If you enjoy the show, if you like the show being here for free every day, free. Buymeacoffee.com/BlackBearNews. Cash App at Red Llama Music. Venmo at Kevin Sandblum. PayPal.me/Kevin Sandblum. And you can Zelle me at kevinsandblum@protonmail.com. I appreciate everybody that supports. You can also super chat me. Super Ray me. Can support me on Patreon. All right, thanks, everyone. I will see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. Until next time, peace.